Here's the simple answer to, okay, what's my trade target? It's an extreme. Where's my trade entry? It's an extreme. So you better know how to define extreme, right? But this is it. James, I'm going to come back to your question if you don't mind, please, and I will answer it. It's a good question, and I'm sure you're not the only one. Okay, so then, but what do I do if, where's my target if I enter at an HVN in a mature balance area? Because, you said that, Tom, you said that I could enter there because that's an inflection point. So what's my target if I enter at an HVN in a mature balance area? It's at the extreme. The answer, the target question answer is the extreme. If you enter a trade, well, I'll get to that. Okay. So let's say that I'm sitting here and it's tomorrow, because we had this wild and woolly day, we're all going to come in tomorrow and we're going to be raring to go. We didn't trade today. We missed the move. So we're going to trade tomorrow. We're ready to go. And we come in, the S&P moves up 4 or 5 handles and then it drops back down and it tests maybe the Globex low, and it gets in the 7-handle range. So I'm sitting here and I'm real eager to trade because I missed the day. And if I get bored and enter in the middle of the range tomorrow, what's my target? If I enter a trade in the middle of the range, what's my target? It's an extreme. If I buy, it's got to be above the high, 2 or above the high of the day, minimum. And if I sell, it's got to be 2 or below the low of the day at a minimum. So this can help you with a reality check. If you're getting ready to click that mouse, say, okay, what's my target? Am I realistic? Is this, if I'm selling the S&Ps on a day like today at, at 5 till 4, is my target? Is it realistic to think I'm going to get the low of the day? Probably not. So if my target is always an extreme, I don't know if that's acceptable because it's going to limit what I can do. Right? Yes, that is right. Discretionary traders, the irony of discretionary traders is that they want me, and I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the guy that calls me on the phone, and the first thing he says is, what's your track record, and how much money can I make, and, those guys. They want me to give them a rule set, but then if I give them a rule set, they don't like it because it limits them. So if you're going to be a discretionary trader, you don't want to be a random trader. And if you don't have rules and you don't have definition, that's what you are. So is this limiting? Yes, but it's limiting not for the sake of limiting you. It's just logical. It's just math. So there's a reason not to trade. And this I've talked about this before, but part of the reason traders they have such a problem with patience and discipline and all this other stuff is not that they're necessarily inherently impatient or undisciplined people, it's they have no basis for it. If you're impatient or if you do something impulsive, after a while, I mean, if you listen to me long enough and Troy long enough, you're going to know in the back of your, there's a little bird on your shoulder is going to go, you know, I probably really shouldn't have done that because I just entered a trade and I have no idea, no real expectation that this thing is going to trade to today's low or today's high. I'm just bored and I entered a trade.